50 years ago, in 1972, Congress passed Title IX. 6 years later, Utah State Volleyball upset UCLA to win the National Volleyball Championship.
We were total underdogs. People were not expecting Utah State, I think, honestly, to do anything. And the actual tournament is kind of a blur because we went through and then ended up in the finals, and people were like, wait, who's this Utah State team? And they're going to get creamed. They're playing UCLA. And the total expectation is UCLA would walk away with the championship. That didn't happen.
I mean, that was the neatest thing to win that. And so I think what I remember is how we got there and then how excited we were and then winning it. And it was great.
The 1978 team owes a lot of their success to Marilyn Weiss, who was hired as the first director of women's athletics at Utah State in 1975. Weiss worked within an extremely limited budget to recruit key players and two phenomenal former Olympians as coaches, Marilyn McCreevy and Mary Jo Pepler.
The success of the team was because Marilyn Weiss was this crazy pioneer in women's athletics, and she was fighting the fight for us.
I think her sight was to bring in good coaches and the players would follow, which really did happen. And that's why a couple of years I was there, we were, not only was volleyball in the top 10 nationally, so was softball and so was gymnastics. And so you had three women's sports all ranked nationally in a really small, nowhere Utah State school in the middle of Logan. But she brought in amazing coaches and the players followed.
Not only were they a talented team, but they had a lot of fun performing skits from Saturday Night Live and running through the stands during warm-ups, encouraged by their coaches to be wild and different. Opposing teams did not always appreciate their antics, but the players felt like these warm-ups helped them deal with the pressure of competition and made the game fun.
Anyway, so we were the wild and crazy team, and that was the theme of our team. And so we would wear hats and funny socks and glasses as our warm-up.
One time they dressed up in a fencing mask and pretend they were like beekeepers coming down, when we would come out into the spectrum.
Pretty wonderful that they allowed us to be a little crazy. And we were, I think Jan Corley and I made the little outfits that Marilyn and Mary Jo wore for a few times. You probably saw them, and they allowed us to make it kind of a fun show along with a great game. And we were good. Our team was very good. So you couldn't really fault us on the court. And what we did off the court was just part of our maybe joy of our experience.
The team found a lot of support from students and the community after their win, the first national title in Utah State history. The 1979 team also made it to the national championship, where they lost to Hawaii in a close game.
But what people saw and the excitement of the team and how well we played, we were starting to get like 3,000, 3,500 people or more coming to the games. And a lot of it was word of mouth and just how fun the games were to go.
You'd go to the grocery store and people would stop. And so tell you, what a great game it was. So I think because Logan is so small, especially at that time, the community was really behind us. So it was pretty fun.
But even with their success, the team did not always enjoy the same treatment as the men's teams at Utah State.
Remember, we really wanted to have a trainer travel with us in case we had an injury. I mean, we were denied that because it was another cost, right?
I went to the team chiropractor and he was going to fix me. Well, guess what? An ACL tear can't be fixed with chiropractic, right?
Like we would drive, they'd get the vans and the players would drive back then because we were driving so far.
We did our own laundry downstairs in the Pi Kappa Alpha. No one did laundry for us. And I believe our team manager washed the team uniforms in her own laundry facilities. I mean, it was just, that's what you did. And, you know, you just made it work.
But I would go by and I'd see all the basketball players, all the football players, all the tennis players, anybody that was on a man's team, or they would be at the training table. And I'm going, why can't we have food too and go to a training table?
As the female athletic director, we strongly advocated for the women's teams at Utah State. As she recently reminisced, we had to fight for every penny that was spent on women's athletics. We started with only 10 in-state and 1 out-of-state scholarship. We pushed for improvement, even filing a Title IX complaint with the Office of Civil Rights in 1978.
And so she was in there fighting for us, saying, you know, let's make this work. You know, Title IX says equal.
My understanding was that she sued Utah State because they were not following Title IX. And it was just for her, I think, just a real fight, trying to get, you know, she had these good coaches and these good teams, and just trying to get money for the programs to keep them in that top level.
In July 1981, Marilyn Weiss resigned from her position at Utah State and took a job as the Associate Athletics Director at the University of Florida. Over 40 years later, she said, "My time at USU gave me the never give up attitude, that anything is possible. We all were doing this for all the right reasons." After Weiss's departure on April 9, 1982, 4 coaches for women's sports resigned, citing lack of university support for their athletes. McReevy and Pepler were among those who resigned.
And if Marilyn Weiss was leaving and they didn't have the support, they probably weren't going to stay.
It was too bad, because I think at that point the team was still very strong, all the players, but it really split the players in half. And so ended up being that their team wasn't very strong, and then the team they left really just faded out, which is too bad.
When the team won the national championship in 1978, Title IX was barely in effect, but the players recognized what it meant for women's athletics.
You know, it's really been part of why I think women's sports has excelled. If it hadn't been for Title IX, I think it would still be in trouble in a lot of ways, just financially. And
again, you saw the difference in what they got and what we got. And we're all athletes, we're all students. We saw that. And so it was really nice to finally see some fairities and equity.
When people ask me about my career, I proudly say I was a product of Title IX. I would not have been able to play volleyball if it hadn't been for Title IX.
It was a very special team. It was a very special program, and way, way ahead of the game. Even how we played the game was new and different.
Utah State's volleyball program from 1978 to 1980 put the university on the national map with 2 championship appearances. It also launched a generation of important coaches and professional volleyball players. Title IX, still in its infancy, helped pave the way for women to earn scholarships and the opportunity to play.